Okay, before anyone pulls me up in the comments, I know the quadruple is actually on, but I want to focus on the domestic treble. Look, guys, it's still a possibility, a strong possibility that Rangers, after only winning, those two trophies, two domestic trophies, three domestic trophies, I suppose we count the League Cup now, since those dark days of 2012, could actually come away with all three domestic honours this season: the Scottish League, Scottish Cup, and of course, as well as that, the Scottish League Cup that we already have in our trophy cabinet. And all this thanks to the absolute genius, the absolute just unbelievable work that Philippe Clement has done with the team. So yes, we know that the treble is firmly on. Now, it was obviously today, Hearts played their tie in the Scottish Cup today against Greenock Morton. That game finishing in a Hearts victory. Hearts winning that game to progress to the semi-finals. A game that was tighter than it needed to be. It was only a 1-0 win away at Greenock Morton. Hearts making heavy weather of that today. So that left Aberdeen, that lot across the city, our mighty Glasgow Rangers, and obviously Hearts in the mix for the semi-finals of the Scottish Cup. Now, there was my pod on Sunday, myself, Keir and Lorah talked about perhaps wanting to get Celtic and get them out of the way and get them beaten now. Other people talk about wanting an Old Firm final. I talked a little bit about how the SFA might want an Old Firm final, so might make sure it returns into a good chance of an Old Firm final. I wonder why. And the draw was made tonight, and Rangers are playing at Hampden Park. Is Scotty Wright going to do his usual in that game? Is it going to be Hampden Scotty again? Who knows? But anyway, Rangers will play Hearts in the semi-final. Look, it's a decent tie. Look at the game that we've already done. We've already beaten them once in one semi-final in the League Cup semi-final. So I suppose there's every chance that we can beat them again in another semi-final. Certainly our record against Hearts this season is very good. However, I guess as well, there may be an element of them wanting revenge against us for that 5-0 hammering they took at Ibrox. I mean, personally speaking, if we weren't going to play Celtic, I'd have rather faced Aberdeen, if I'm being honest, and let Hearts play that lot, because Hearts have got a bit of an Indian sign over that lot this year. They really have got a bit of the beating of them this year. So it would have been quite funny to see them go out in the semi-finals to Hearts. We really would have done. But hey, it's Rangers Hearts, Aberdeen versus that lot. So it's all set up for another Rangers Aberdeen final. Here's hoping anyway. Well, that's the tie. Let me know what you think of the semi-final draw and what you think of Rangers drawing Hearts. And like I said, domestic treble very much on. We go into Sunday's game against Dundee with a chance of obviously maintaining that 2-point lead at the top. Celtics, do stand a chance of going back top if they win their game on the Saturday. They do play ahead of us, and there's going to be a lot of that, I think, over these coming, if we progress in the Europa League, where we will play Thursday, Sunday. So we will be playing catch up. Unless, of course, they slip up, and they could slip up. They've shown this season that they do slip up on many occasions. But no matter what happens, we need to keep the pressure on. We need to ensure that whenever they respond, we respond again, and we kick on again, and we show them that this is not the same Rangers team of the past that would collapse under the expectation, collapse under the pressure to perform, collapse under the opportunity to catch up. Like we said, Rangers teams of previous years, when that lot have slipped up, have always caved in, have always kind of, slipped up themselves, drawn or lost. Who remembers last season, Motherwell against Celtic? Motherwell go and get a point at Parkhead. What happens the next day? Rangers lose to Aberdeen at Pittodrie. It happens. It happens all the time. So, we need to make sure that does not happen if we progress in the Europa League, and we're doing a lot of Thursday, Sunday, which obviously could happen. There's a great chance, obviously, we can progress against Benfica on Thursday. I want to speak about three players in particular in today's video. I want to talk a little bit about the fabulous John Lundstrom again. Yes, I'm going to talk a bit of Lunny. I want to talk about Fabio Silva and what he's had to say about extending his time with Rangers. And it's a complicated one, and we'll get to that very shortly. And also going to talk a little bit about Cole Mackinnon as well, who seems to be the next young player off the rank, the next cab off the rank that Philippe Clement sees as having a future at the club. In terms of, obviously, Ross McCausland was the first who came through the youth system, established himself as a first-team regular. He's now playing regularly. He's coming off the bench. He's starting games. He's been a fundamental part of our season, and obviously got a League Cup winners medal. Cole Mackinnon has played in the Europa League games. He's played in the league games now. So, it seems that Cole Mackinnon is the next one off the rank, and we will talk a little bit of Cole Mackinnon as well. But let's start off by talking about Fabio Silva. Now, I think it's fair to say that we've kind of found Fabio's best position. I think we all kind of knew that Fabio wasn't a striker. That's not really his position. He's not an out-and-out nine. He doesn't look like an out-and-out nine. We saw when he did play up there, he was still, he was dropping off. He was coming back to fetch the ball. He was working out wide. He was more, I suppose, a 10 than a 9. He was never really, he was more a support striker, that SS that you sometimes get on FIFA and on the Pro Evolution Soccer, those you remember the PES days. But Silva kind of now has gone out onto that left side, and that left side has proved tricky for Rangers this season because of all the injuries we've had. Abdallah Sima started playing there, was excellent. Matondo played there, was okay. Cortez came in, he played there, was excellent. All of them got injured, all of them missed out. I know Matondo is back now, but Fabio Silva really seems to have stepped up and made that place his own. He's been absolute quality in the last couple of games on that left-hand side. And again, it's kind of been a more out of necessity than a kind of desire to try him out there. I think, again, like the Dujon Sterling experiment that obviously has been extremely successful this season, Billy Clement was left with no choice really but to try and find players to play out wide, given the massive number of injuries you've sustained in those wide positions. Fabio Silva, has come in. He's performed exceptionally well on that left-hand side. He scored in the game against Hibs the other night. He performed exceptionally well. Was one of the best players on the pitch against Benfica. I mean, obviously, you've got to kind of realize that part of that as well is the fact that he's an FC Porto man. He's come through the Porto system. He hates Benfica because Porto hate Benfica. So there's an element of that. But he's carried that performance level on into the next game, and he really is starting to look like a £35 million player. The skill, the ability to chop back inside, the ability to beat players, the ability to work hard. And that's another thing about Fabio Silva that's been exceptionally impressive, has been the guy's work rate. He really is working his socks off and working hard, not just to attack, but also to cover back and support Ridvan Yilmaz. And him and Yilmaz have linked exceptionally well, including obviously linking for Dujon Sterling's goal in Lisbon. Now, Fabio Silva has said that he would consider staying at Rangers on a permanent deal. But obviously that seems a million miles away and seems highly unlikely. It's clear that Fabio is enjoying his time up here in Glasgow. He's enjoying his time playing for the biggest team in Scotland and one of the biggest teams in Britain. He's quite clear, and one of the biggest teams in Europe. He's quite, clearly enjoying and thriving in this atmosphere. Working, Philippe Clement is obviously agreeing with him. He's enjoying working with the attacking players that he's working with. He's linking well with Ridvan Yilmaz, Turkish international, high quality player. Who's helping to get the best of Yilmaz, helping to get the best of him, looking good going forward. Now, Yilmaz has really come on and performed and been fantastic, and it seems that Silva now is following in his footsteps. Now, Silva joined on loan from Wolves. It's just a loan. There is no option to buy in that deal, especially when you consider that Wolves paid £35 million for this player from FC Porto. Silva is only 21 years old as well, so he's obviously got a substantial career ahead of him. He scored 4 goals in 13 games for Rangers this season. And has really sort of started to link exceptionally well with Dessers, exceptionally well with Lawrence, with Ridvan and all those other players. He performed exceptionally well in the quarter-final. He did brilliant, like I said, out in Lisbon. But, I think when he talks about his desire to stay at, his willingness, to stay at Rangers beyond this season, I think that realistically, we've got to look at it in terms of there is absolutely zero to no chance of ever signing this player. Wolves are not going to allow a £35 million football player they paid £35 million for to leave on the cheap. Speaking to a couple of Wolves podcasters, they're saying the club, if they want him to go and if they don't want to try him out next season, they're going to want as close to that £35 million bracket as possible to claw back as much of that £35 million as they can. So Silva may be open to staying, and that is a strong possibility. I suppose the possibility is there that he's 21, he's still young, he's still learning the game, that there could be an option to extend his loan for another season. And I certainly wouldn't be against that, bringing the guy back for another year. I think if Silva was to stay beyond this season, the most realistic option is as a loan. There is absolutely zero chance of us being able to afford him. As I said, they're not going to allow a player who costs them 35 million to leave for 9-10 million, which even still might be out of our price range, even with Champions League money, prize money from this season, prize money from the Europa League, etc., etc. Especially if we want to go and sign other players. And this obviously there is a clear need to strengthen in other areas. There's a clear need to go and get a couple of centre backs. Jeff Tay looks like he's going to arrive. Another striker is needed. So, blurting and splashing that amount of money on Silva, I think, is a very unrealistic possibility. And we just don't have the funds. Also, the wages as well are an issue. You look at how much he's on at Wolves. He's on a substantial amount there. We're not going to be able to match those deals. So it's and I know some of you say, well, Butland came, but I think it's very different to Jack Butland. Obviously Butland's a keeper. He's 30 odd years old. Silva's 21. He's a young up and coming player, plays out fit. I just can't see this happening beyond a loan deal. That would be the only way I'd see Silva back at Ibrox next season. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below, guys, about Fabio Silva and about the possibility of him remaining next season. Okay, so let's talk a little bit of Super John Lundstrom. Yes, he's the greatest on earth. Silky Scouse will give us just what we need. He'll take Rangers to the treble. That doesn't fit the song at all. It was nice to hear his song being sung the other day. Now, Lunny has been just absolutely superb this season. He really has. Well, actually, no, I'll qualify that. Lunny was absolute, pure, adulterated garbage at the start of the season under Michael Beale, as virtually all the squad were. But he has, since Philippe Clement has come in, he has been absolutely outstanding. And he is, I think, in the running to be a player of the year at Ibrox. I think a lot of people expect Jack Butland to be voted the player of the year. But, John Lundstrom equally can be talked about in the same voice and in the same breath as Jack Butland for that player of the year award. Now, I think a lot of people felt that on that game on Sunday that he could have actually been rested. He looked absolutely out on his feet in Lisbon. He looked absolutely exhausted. But, much to the surprise of a lot of people, Clement obviously seems to be, well, I say surprise. It is a surprise, I think, because a lot of people expected him to be rested, but not a surprise in the fact that Philippe Clement has come to really depend on John Lundstrom, describing him as a leader on the field and a leader off the field. He came on, he played on Sunday against Hibs, and he was absolutely outstanding, giving a man of the match performance. He scored a goal, obviously a bit of a fortuitous goal, a follow-up, but it's still ability, talent there to have the desire, the passion, the want to get to that ball before anyone else gets there and bundle it into the back of the net after James Tavernier missed the penalty. Lundstrom really did help Rangers take control of that game in the end and dominate that game. He broke up things, he played the ball, kept it simple, and I thought he was absolutely outstanding. If we look at his stats from the last few years, Lunny in 2021-22 played 48 games, scored 4 goals, 1 assist. In 22-23, 52 games, 5 goals, no assists. This season, though, assists growing. His ability to influence the game and become a bit of an all-round midfielder quite clear this season. He had 43 games, 2 goals, 6 assists. That's 8 goal contributions, more than any other season. So it's quite clear that his stats speak for himself. But it's not just those stats; it's what he does on the ball, what he does off the ball, the way he chases back, the way he tackles, the way he breaks up play. He has been one of the best and most consistent performers in this team. Now, I know his deal is up in the summer, and I think there is a real desire within the club, and in fact, I know that there is a real desire within the club to offer him a new contract and for John Lundstrom to remain beyond this season. And personally speaking, I really hope that deal gets done and that he does remain beyond this season. He is an absolutely outstanding player. Now, he's spoken in the past, obviously, about wanting to finish his career at Rangers, about loving the club. But you never know. You never know what might happen. The club might, the deal the club might be offering might not be agreeable to him. You may get a bigger offer from the English Championship, where even though it's at a lower level, there's a hell of a lot more money swirling around than there is up here in Scotland. So look, it is a difficult one. I just hope that Lunny takes that new deal, and that new deal is offered, and the deal is taken, and that Lunny goes on to play for another couple of seasons for Rangers. I really do hope that is the case. Guys, let me know what you think about Lunny, his performances, and a contract for the man who certainly could be in the reckoning for Player of the Year at Ibrox. Now, one player who's been mentioned as a possible successor in the Rangers midfield to John Lundstrom, although McKinnon is a little bit more attacking, is Cole Mackinnon. Now, Cole Mackinnon is is one of the most brightest talents to come out of the B team. Now, I think, a lot of people have wanted to see Bailey Rice play, Zach Lovelace, Ishaka Thompson, etc., etc. But, Philip Clement, even though in the past, he has talked about his desire to use young players, to see young players play, he's very clever with how he seems to pick one, bleed them in, get them used to it, and have them playing regularly. It now seems he's moved that on from Ross McCausland. McCausland obviously is still part of the team, he's still playing, but now it seems like Cole Mackinnon is the next cab on the rank. He's the next player to go for it from the B team. Now, he has played previously for Rangers first team. Remember, at the end of the 21-22 campaign, Gio rested a whole host of players against Hearts for the forthcoming Europa League final, and McKinnon was in that. He came off the bench, he played 30 minutes and scored the third goal, which obviously helped us clinch a 3-1 victory. The season after, he was sent on loan to Partick Thistle to gain first-team experience. And it's quite clear that the time that he had at Partick Thistle and the games that he was able to play whilst at Partick Thistle have really benefited him this year and kind of blooded him and got him used to the combat of real football, of first-team football. And it's kind of, I don't know, perhaps arguable that in the future that may be a route that Bailey Rice takes, that Ishaka Thompson takes, that we send them out on loan, because at the moment the B team are not getting any real quality games. There's no reserve league, they're not playing in the Lowland League. Their games are very much friendlies, and that obviously I think will suffer the level of competition, and that obviously will therefore suffer the ability and the development of those players coming through. But Cole Mackinnon certainly seems to be someone who is now very much in the manager's thoughts in terms of developing him and bringing him into first team reckoning. He made 31 appearances for Partick Thistle. He assisted 3, scored 3, so 6 goal contributions in all. And he was part of their squad that nearly got promotion. Under Clement, like I said, he really is getting his opportunity. He played the final 13 minutes against Benfica. He played obviously against Hibernian. He won 100% of his aerial duels. He made an interception. He blocked a shot against Benfica. And really did play a cool, calm part. He was then obviously rewarded with that performance by coming on against Hibs and doing a very fine job against Hibs. So, look, Cole Mackinnon is certainly someone who, long-term could be a replacement for Lundstrom, and certainly someone the boss seems to have a lot of confidence in. Here's Cole's stats from this year. He's made 2 appearances and 1 assist in the Challenge Cup, 1 appearance in the SFA Cup, 1 appearance in the Europa League. And at the time of publishing this, he hadn't, obviously, then he made his first Premiership appearance as well. So he's made 5 appearances and 1 assist this season. He does seem to be the next most promising player coming through the ranks. And, as a Rangers fan, it's nice to see players who've come through our system who are, a lot of them in the cases of McCausland especially, are Rangers to the core. So it's nice to see these guys coming in and getting an opportunity. But Cole Mackinnon is certainly someone who carries a lot of promise. I hope he continues to get minutes. I hope he continues to play his part for our club going forward. Well, guys, let me know what you think about Cole Mackinnon and his opportunities to play as the season progresses towards an end. Well, thanks for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. As always, if you could smash the sub on the way out, that would be utterly phenomenal. 2 things I always ask of you as we finish. Number 1 is to smash the like, and number 2 is to remember always, we are the people.